So another Hillary Clinton story here that we have comes from the New York Daily News. The article says Hillary Clinton defends husband and Al Franken blast President Trump and Roy Moore over sexual harassment. So basically what this article explains is that Hillary Clinton was at I think it was some sort of, let me see here. She chatted with the former secretary of the let me just read this part here. It says, when it comes to allegations of sexual misconduct, Hillary Clinton sees a clear difference between Democrats and Republicans. The former Secretary of State chatted with WABC radio host Rita Cosby in a sweeping Friday afternoon interview centered on sexual impropriety in politics, fielding questions about GOP Senate nominee Roy Moore, President Trump, her husband, and Democratic Senator Al Franken. It says here, Clinton was quick to lump together Moore, who's accused of sexually harassing and assaulting several teenagers, with Trump, who's accused of sexually harassing more than a dozen women. She was also quick to extend an olive branch to Franken, her former Senate colleague, who's accused of sexually harassing a female radio host in 2006. Quoting her here, she says, he's a good friend. He's a good friend of mine, and I deeply regret what he did. There's no excuse for his behavior, but he has called for an investigation and apologized to the woman involved, Clinton said. Look at the contrast between Al Franken accepting responsibility, apologizing, and Roy Moore and Donald Trump, who have done neither. It says, she continued, there's a double standard. The Republicans deny, and divert. And they get away with it because the press is more concerned about somebody who accepted responsibility than people who refuse to take responsibility. There was also another part here. Apparently some comments were made by Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who is the senator who took over Clinton's seat when she left the Senate. And it says Clinton also pushed back against Gillibrand, who made headlines earlier this week when she said President Bill Clinton should have stepped down following his sex scandal involving White House intern Monica Lewinsky. Clinton says that was a painful time not only in our marriage but in our country. Clinton said, referring to the impeachment of her husband in 1999, but it was investigated fully. It was addressed at the time. He was held accountable. That is very different than what people seem to be remembering from that period. Contrastingly, Clinton was incredulous as to why Trump isn't facing the same scrutiny her husband did. It says, if you're going to hold people to the same standards, there are a lot of parallels that are not being followed in recent times, she said. Okay, so that's the end of that. So, for once, surprisingly, I find myself in somewhat agreement with Hillary Clinton here. As far as her specific point about how, about how Democrats and Republicans seem to take certain levels of responsibility for certain things, especially considering situations pertaining to rape and sexual assault and sexual misconduct. They seem to definitely take a lot more. The Democrats seem to definitely take a lot more responsibility, I guess, in this case. At least in these last two cases, compared to Republicans. But, I mean, and that's fine. And, while Democrats, at least now they're confessing, it's not like they were always confessing to everything that they did. But Republicans never really did. Republicans were always the one that were hiding these things, and they were talking about how, I never did this and I never did that, and I'm a good Christian man and I'm religious, and I don't have any secrets to hide against anybody. I'm not I would never do something like that. So basically, Republicans go out there and they act holier than thou, and they like to portray themselves as like saints, and like nobody should be afraid of them doing anything wrong because they've, taken a vow to the Lord our God, and, the usual stuff that they say. So they like to basically act like they're always innocent, and anybody who thinks that they're not innocent should know that they have taken a vow to God. And because you've taken a vow to this sky fairy in the sky, in the up in the heavens, that means that anything you do wrong, well, first of all, nobody should believe that you do anything wrong because you believe in God. Okay. And if you do something wrong, God knows whether you did that wrong. So you would never do anything wrong to begin with. So basically, God would know all the bad things that you're doing and that you shouldn't, and then nobody should be worried about what you may do because you would never do anything wrong. So you can trust them, you can take their word and everything. Of course, that's not the case because a lot of these Republicans have a record, have a history of essentially doing a lot of fucked up shit, a lot of creepy stuff that nobody can really trust them to be trust them to be honest, and let alone not being hypocritical, because a lot of them say I am against gay marriage and I am against incest and I am against doing drugs and doing all these terrible things. So I would never do that, and anybody that does it, should be punished by God, and they should be condemned for their actions. Well, as it turns out, a lot of Republicans out there have done things that are fucked up, that are immoral. Roy Moore being one of them, Trump being another one of them, another one being Larry Craig. Another one that I mentioned on my last show was Desjardins. Was it Scott Desjardins? Yeah, Scott Desjardins was a congressman who, he forced his mistress and his wife to get abortions, even though he voted several times against abortion when he was in the House. I think he was doing cocaine or something with his mistress. He got caught for that too. So fuck your morals, man. You got no morals. You're doing all the fucked up shit that you claim everybody else shouldn't be doing. And then Larry Craig was, I believe Larry Craig was having sex with a gay hooker, in a bathroom in like a New Jersey bathroom stall or something. I honestly don't know the details to that, and I don't want to know it. It's kind of irrelevant, the details of it, but yeah, he was basically caught doing a lot of the things that, he was obviously saying like, oh, that's terrible, how dare you do it, but then he was doing it himself. And that's just, two examples I can think of. The Roy Moore one, Donald Trump one, are two more. Obviously Trump said, grab them by the pussy, and then, I move on them like a bitch, and all this fucked up shit. And Roy Moore was, like I said on the episode last week, I actually detailed his case specifically, and I talked about how he was caught, he raped a 14-year-old girl, a 16-year-old girl or something, and he was, going after girls that were under the age of 18 when he was only 32. So yeah, all that stuff. So, but as far as when it comes to a particular case with Hillary here, it's just a little convenient how she wants to condemn the Republicans and, go really hard on them. How dare you, you shouldn't be doing this, but then she forgives people like her husband. She forgives people like Al Franken. She basically she does her way to dance around those situations that involve the Democrats, because she doesn't want to condemn the Democrats, because she knows if she condemns her own side, that's not going to make Democrats look too good and it's going to piss them off. So she wants to play team Democrat the whole time. She wants to make sure she's playing on the right team and she's not, stepping on anybody's toes, essentially. Because I guess in her mind, if she does do that, then she's gonna, then she's not gonna make her side look too good. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of typical Hillary. I'm not really surprised by anything like that. That's just kind of like a matter that you would. That's just a matter that I wouldn't expect Hillary to condemn Democrats on, let alone anything really. She's gonna play for that team. That's just how it is. Now she has a lot of Republicans that are friends. She's friends with John McCain. John McCain, I think he was caught for adultery or something, right? Didn't he have a child out of wedlock with somebody? I don't know the details of that one, but she's not going out there condemning John McCain. So she's very selective in who she condemns and how she condemns them. So it's very interesting. Yeah. So. That's just typical Hillary. Can't say I'm surprised. And that's just kind of how it is.